So, hi everyone, my name is Enzo Casanada. I'm a third year BME, pronunciation is. I'm this year's co-publicity director, and I'm running for treasurer for the 2023 to 2024 school year. So, since joining Fusion last year, it's meaning to me as an organization has really changed over time. So, when I first joined, it was more of like a small club. I could share common interests with some people, but it really evolved to more of like the motivation for my growth to like be a better person because of all the incredible people I've met in this club. So, because Fusion like pushed me to be the best version of myself, I want to be on exec to try and make Fusion the best version of itself. So why treasurer? So out of the 5 exec positions, I definitely think all of them are worth like 4 units worth of workload, but treasurer is like, I feel the most room, has like the most room for like growth and improvement. So this past year, we saw like an explosion in our member growth, and I feel like our current treasurer did a fantastic job of sort of like channeling that energy into like a financial flourishing infusion, if you will. And because of that, I feel like there's strong groundwork set up for next year's treasurer. So if elected, I kind of want to maintain that like money momentum and like try new things out. So the first changes I want to see regard Baker Wrap hot dogs, which is our main form of income, and working with the foreshadowed fundraiser director. There's some changes I want to implement. First one being a new grill. And second one being a little bit stricter with the roles of the people who sign up to be volunteers. I also think Bacon Wrap is a unique position to kind of externalize Fusion outside of our normal meetings. So we talked about this year like displaying merch. Unfortunately, that didn't come to fruition, but I do think that's something we can do, and possibly like raffling it off next year, make a little bit more money, more advertising at the booth. It could be fun. Regarding external fundraisers, also planning ahead with the fundraising director, I think it might be feasible to do a fundraiser after every journal meeting. So like we're already going out, might as well make some money while we're at it, right? Also regarding journal meetings, on the CCC website, they actually do offer funds for events that are like defined as multicultural, and I think after Fusion's growth in like the increased intersectionality from its members, I think it's feasible to try and get some money for say our Alianza collabs or like Women in STEM meetings or stuff like that. So a big concern that I share with the other candidates that have been up here already are kind of the shortfalls of the academic and professional pillar in Fusion. So I talked a little bit with one of our academics director, and I think it's worth considering like extra subscriptions for Fusion. So like, I don't know, Skillshare, Course Hero, Brilliant.org, all of them, but some of them, they offer good opportunities, just like Chegg, and they can help our like project and academic directors do stronger workshops. So to wrap it up, this year I feel like I really made a big impact as Pub on board through helping develop a new website that you guys should check out, by the way, the Fusion website, fresh banners, and recap videos, all while also being on board for Engineering Student Council. So if elected, I really think I could build upon this passion that I've already started and the relationships with this board, with next year's board. And I want to give a special thanks to you guys for making the club what it is and giving me the opportunity to platform. And that concludes my talk.
All right, same thing for this individual Q&A. It's the same exact document, so you don't need to scan it if you already scanned it. It should be on the 3rd page of the document. And again, please be specific to this candidate, as again, we do have a brief Q&A after this. Just a reminder, Enzo, will be 5 minutes. And yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. So your first question is, why shouldn't you run for this position?
So why shouldn't I? So over the past year, my only real like financial experience in other clubs has been with ESC. There's been some with Fusion, like with board merch and stuff, where we had to plan for the cost. But for ESC, the only really financial thing we did was do a budget before every quarter and set up the rest of our meetings. And with Fusion, I don't have quite the same experience as ESC, but I do like stepping out of my comfort zone, and I feel like treasurer is really where I can learn to really grow myself in that aspect.
All right, your next question is, from your time on being From your time on board this year, what was the biggest thing you learned that you hope to take with you next year as treasurer?
Biggest thing I learned on this year's board. Yeah, so I guess this goes for board in general. So one thing I really appreciate about this year's board in particular is their availability to general members. So for example, won't say the clubs, but I've seen other clubs where the board kind of feels separate from the rest of the general members, and I feel like where this board really shined is you guys all know them, like, you know, they're like kind of our friends, you know, they're not their own separate little group. And as treasurer, I feel like even though that position is more like behind the scenes, I still want to try and reciprocate that sort of welcomingness as treasurer to general members next year.
Great, thank you. Your next question is, have you had experience of managing the club's money, both its collection and disbursement? If so, explain, and if not, what qualities make you a strong candidate for this?
Okay, so as I mentioned before with Engineering Student Council, I only really manage funds for our section, not necessarily the whole club. But I still think the managing in that particular subset of ESC was a valuable experience. So I'll just kind of describe it. So at the beginning, we'd ask for a certain amount, say like $1,200 for the total amount of meetings that we would hold, and then we'd kind of get that money for the quarter. So me and my co, we would kind of distribute that amongst like food, rides, other equipment, kind of similar to how we run journal meetings here, just for another club. So I think that applies to you as well.
The next question is, can you critique the current position holder?
So as I mentioned on my platform, Ethan did a fantastic job with kind of absorbing all this member growth. But I think, I know we had like sign-up sheets for Baker Up hot dogs. One of the big issues I had that I mentioned on my platform as well was being strict with the roles. So I did see when I volunteered sometimes that some people work like substantially more than others. I just think that's like a fairness thing. I definitely think that's one of the areas we could have fixed a little bit. But other than that, I do think it's a solid treasurer.
Right. That leads you to your next question, actually. And as you mentioned, implementing stricter rules on those who sign up for Bacon or Hot Dog. Can you expand upon those rules?
Yeah, so I think the main thing here is just have set expectations. So I think when people sign up, it should be clear what their schedule is, and if they sign up, then they have to come, because I've been in other clubs where some people will sign up for stuff and then they don't show up. So if they don't show up the first time, I think it's important to call them out individually of course, not with the whole board, but to talk to them about it and really redefine the expectations for why they need to be professional if they sign up for a volunteer spot, because it is our main source of income. It is very important.
All right, our next question is, how else can Fusion allocate its funds to improve the quality of events and well-being of its general members?
So I know we allocate about $30 to every general meeting. And I think budgeting at the very start of the quarter is something that will be valuable to getting an equal sort of allocation to every program. So I know at the very start of quarters, not necessarily everything is planned yet. We have dates, so we will do Fusion Friday this day, but we don't necessarily know what we do. So even if we plan like a little bit ahead, like 5 weeks ahead, even like 3 weeks ahead, that might help us be able to budget a little bit more, so we could spend more money on Fusion Fridays or journal meetings or whatnot.
Right, the next question. The treasurer will work largely alongside the fundraising director, working hand in hand. So can you explain how you would resolve any disagreements regarding Fusion's funds? This will be your last question.
Okay. So regarding the fundraiser director, so it's my understanding they definitely have full control over the ideas as far as fundraising go. But as far as actually funding the event, I think that lies with treasurer. So I think if the event is feasible and I agree with the budget, then I would be okay with letting them run the event, even though I disagree with it. I'm a big fan of trying new things. So, I mean, the first time, if I disagree, I'll be like, oh, what the heck. It's feasible, we have the budget for it. let's just see how it goes. And then after that, we would see like, okay, that wasn't really good. Let's not do that again. But that's how it works.
All right. Thank you.